Hi everybody, welcome to my garden. Now my garden is filled with some big, tall plants, but we're gonna talk about one of my favorites, which just happens to be the smallest plant, and anybody can fit this into their yard, and that's what I love about it. We're talking about desert roses. You know that I do love those big plants, there's no question about it, but look at this guy. Desert roses, adeniums, are basically a natural bonsai. They have these huge, swollen trunk bases called a caudex, which stores all of the energy that it needs to survive the winter inside the house with no water, and it doesn't need any light really during the winter time either. I just keep it by a nice bright windowsill and I let it go dormant. It'll drop every single leaf. And then when it goes outside during the summertime, it wakes up and it produces these gorgeous flowers. I got this one at Trader Joe's of all places. Here I was just minding my own business, trying to go buy some cashews. It really was. I think it was cashews. And then I got this. It didn't look like this, by the way, when I got it. It looked half dead. The leaves were starting to wilt. It had probably gone weeks and weeks and weeks without water. And although it's called a desert rose, it loves water during the summertime when it's hot out. In fact, this guy is actually a little bit dry, so I'm gonna dump it right into the pond. Sorry, fishies, this isn't for you. I'm just dunking it in. Oop. There we go. A little too dunked in. There we go. The secret is fast draining soil. It likes lots of water, but it needs fast draining soil during the summertime. And then during the winter, you don't really want to water it at all. That's where the desert part of this comes in. So this is the perfect plant if you have a super hot tabletop during the summertime that you want a pretty flower on. It is the perfect plant if you have a really hot spot that you don't mind keeping really nice and well watered. It can survive without a lot of water, by the way, but it prefers lots of water during the summertime and then drying out in between waterings for the best flower growth. And those flowers will pop up just without any fertilizer as soon as the weather starts to warm up. They come in so many shapes, sizes, colors. I want to show you a few of my others and where I have those in the yard. Of course, I enjoy having this one by the pond because I spend a lot of time by my pond and it just is a really bright table, so I think having a plant on it looks nice. I'm going to take you to the patio part of my yard and show you where my other ones are. Just want to give you a little tour of some of my other plants. I have a fishtail palm that I really love that's starting to grow some new leaves and fill out really nicely. And this is one single frond. There's really no other palm tree like this. You know any palm tree that has a single frond like that? Really cool. Let me know. There are a couple of palms like an orango that does have a similar really beautiful kind of texture to the fronds. Here's a few more of my desert roses. Now that it's getting toward evening time, they're getting a little bit of shade, but for 10 hours out of a day, it's full sun and that's it. So I've had this for a few years. Clay pots are great for desert roses or any other succulent because they breathe. So this is never gonna overwater in a clay pot. It breathes beautifully. And I had to prune this back a bit because there was actually some rot inside the house over the winter. It's recovered very nicely. So you can see where I pinched over here and now it has some new leaves coming up. We have lots of flower buds. Things were not looking great for the desert roses until about a week or two ago. So definitely July, August seems to be the sweet spot for these. I'm a little disappointed. I got this one off of Etsy and it was supposed to be a yellow desert rose, but you know, this is what happens when you buy things off of Etsy. But I'm pretty happy anyway because it's a desert rose and it was a healthy plant when I got it. So we can't complain too much, but it is white in my opinion. I'm not really seeing any yellow. There's very, very little yellow in it. So just to give you an idea of the different types of desert roses that are available. I love this one because it does have that simple flower just like the red one I just showed you did, but this is another option if you're more into the rosy sort of multi-petaled look. I have one with some magnificent color. This I was hoping would be yellow, but I don't mind the white because I do have some color from this one, which was in full bloom just a few days ago, and now it's taken a little bit of a break. There's only 2 flowers left on it. Little disappointed by the lack of leaves. I think I'm gonna have to hit this with some fertilizer. This one's also not in a clay container, by the way. It's in a look-alike, but it's not clay. And I have some Mother 1000 plants I did not plant because this is a cool succulent. Do you see all of the babies that are growing along the leaf margins here? So these just pop right off. Look at that, Mother 1000. This is definitely a accurate name for this plant. So this is one little baby. It's called a plantlet, and you just pop it into here. And maybe you take a few of them. I did this at work a couple of weeks ago. Look at that. We got a bundle. You just plop, 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 plop them. They're almost like seeds, and then they'll take, and you will have more Mother 1000 plants than you can ever need. Live in such a cold climate, they would be so invasive. I don't recommend planting them if you're in the tropics. You'll have them everywhere. But over here, obviously, anything that doesn't go inside the house dies. So don't have to worry about that being invasive. So yes, those are a few of my desert roses. Just like the plumeria, I honestly think they have very similar care. Lots of water when it's nice and hot outside. Relax on the water. Don't water much when it is not extremely hot. And of course, fast draining soil. The soil is everything. If you want, I'll give you a quick little tour of what's behind me. It's been a while since I've talked about all of these plants. My triangle palm is slowly trugging along with a new frond. We have my flamethrower palm tree. I've got a lot of questions about my flamethrower palm. So the fronds only grow about once a year, they unfurl. They take all year to grow from that spear. But what's interesting is that when they unfurl, there's already a new spear that's quite large. So this one unfurled in May, this newest one, and the spear was already larger than you would expect. Usually the spear doesn't even pop up until after the new frond fully unfurls. But with the flamethrower palms, you get a spear it's already about half grown. After that new frond unfurls, it reveals about a half grown spear on the top, so that new emerging leaf. But the thing about it is that it grows very slow. Very, very slow. Worth it though, and honestly it's picking up in speed as it gets to an older age. This is a false agave. You can touch all you want and it won't hurt you. Look at that. Other agaves like this guy are mean, but I do love them anyway. You touch that and it hurts a little bit. I have plants that hurt a lot more than that, so I've become immune. Yeah, so, you know, definitely loving the way that the garden's coming along. Along with the desert roses, there's some really cool cacti, succulents that you can play around with. Of course, citrus do very well in clay containers and in similar conditions. Lots of sun, lots of water when it's hot out, but fast draining soil. And so do these guys. Aren't these so beautiful? Crown of Thorns especially are just spectacular. But I love aeoniums. Aeoniums are just, I don't know, they're not a common, oh, go away fly. They're not a common succulent to see, and they should be more common. I just think that they're so beautiful. But the Crown of Thorns are also just on a league of their own. This one has not been blooming well this year. I think I need to neglect it more. Sometimes that's the solution. Neglect is a cactus or succulent's best friend because it forces them to reconsider their lavish lifestyle because, you know, cacti flower out of stress because they want to produce offspring. They're like, uh-oh, I don't know if we're meant long for this world. I've got to produce some offspring. So that's the idea when cacti and succulents produce flowers. So we'll see. Maybe I can force them into bloom if I nudge them along a little bit. But this guy's doing well. So this is what they look like when they're in bloom. This is a yellow crown of thorns. So the yellow and the red are doing pretty good. But the pink is on a sabbatical this year for some reason. Bloom. If you want large lemons, Ponderosa is my favorite. Super easy to grow. I have 3 large lemons from last year's crop. This year I'm seeing 2 so far. Usually you get more fruit with each passing year, but citrus are an exception sometimes. And there are some other fruit trees too that they'll have a heavier year and then a lighter year where they produce a little less. Right now we're at the avocado stage where every single person who walks into this yard thinks it's an avocado tree. Avocados are great though, and you can grow them in containers, so little future purchase probably down the line. Oh, speaking of interesting, how about these guys? This is, believe it or not, a eggplant. It's a Sicilian eggplant. I hear it doesn't taste very good, but I wanted to experiment with them anyway. And they're pretty. So anyway, clearly we've been sidetracked from the desert rose part of this video. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of a couple of, because it wasn't just the desert roses, but the crown of thorns are also fantastic plants for people who don't have a lot of space but have a lot of sun. So if you have like an apartment patio or something that is just beyond sunlit, get yourself a desert rose, get yourself a crown of thorns, get yourself an aeonium succulent. Actually, the aeoniums are good. That's these guys, just in case you forgot. These are good even in some shade too. They make pretty good houseplants. Get them. Let me know what you think of them. Let me know if there are any other really beautiful sun-loving plants that stay small that would be good for a tabletop outside. Alrighty, y'all. Have a great one. Sorry I said y'all. I'm allowed to say that even though I'm in New York because I spent 6 years in the South and habits are hard to kick. And I don't want to kick that one because y'all's a lot of fun.